The Bitcoin retirement controversy rages on. So in a recent video, I mapped out the feasibility of retiring on 0.21 Bitcoin in the next 5 years using a real-life private client example of mine. And a lot of people took issue with the example that I used, and I get it. It was probably a little bit unrealistic for most of the general public. So in this video, I want to help you understand exactly how to map out how much Bitcoin you might need to retire inside of 10 years using a very conservative formula. So after watching this video, you're going to know exactly how to calculate your personal retirement number, your monthly income and expenses, your future expenses in retirement, and how much Bitcoin you're going to need to make it all work. Special thank you to Bitbox Hardware Wallets for sponsoring this video. I'll talk a little bit about them later. And just for some context, if we're just meeting, my content is on a mission to empower millennials and Gen X to integrate Bitcoin more deeply into their personal finances so they can reach financial independence in 10 years or less. So let's first talk about your personal retirement number, and we can relate that to 0.21 Bitcoin. So a lot of people start with the question, how much Bitcoin do I need to retire? And there is plenty of content out there on the interwebs, especially on YouTube, to give you sort of like a quick and dirty approximation, easy for me to say. But you're not here for the hopium that a lot of channels are sort of putting out there. You're here because you're looking for a bit more precision than that. You want to know realistically, what does this look like? So what you really need to calculate your number actually are 3 data points. You need to know your estimated annual expenses in retirement. You need to know your liquid investment portfolio. So that's your total assets minus liabilities minus your home value. That's going to equal your liquid net worth. And then what is your time horizon? Is it 5 years? Is it 10 years? Is it more than that? So once we have those 3 data points, then we can kind of get down to the nitty gritty. So where I start with my private clients is by using what's called the 4% rule. And you may or may not be familiar with that. By the way, if you're getting value out of this, I would appreciate if you would smash the like button and maybe subscribe. It does help get this content out to more people. So the 4% rule was based on this study called the Trinity Study that was done back in 1998. And I won't go into a ton of detail. You should research it and look into that yourself as well. So it determines essentially your safe withdrawal rate in retirement. So what number do you need to get to in order to safely withdraw 4% of your nest egg in retirement and not run out of money? So how do you calculate it? So you typically you just take your annual income and multiply that by 25, or you can take your monthly income and multiply that by 300. So I wanted to do just an example. This is not a private client. This is just sort of a more, I guess, middle class example. So let's say you have Scott Sample is 40 years old. He's got a wife and 2 kids. He makes $70,000 a year as an income, which is about $5,800 a month. His FIRE number by the monthly calculation is going to be 5833 times 300, and that gets him to 1.75 million. So in order for him to be able to safely withdraw 4% of his income in retirement, he would need to get to 1.75 million. Now, Scott, in this example, he already has a liquid net worth of $400,000. Like his family, they're renters. They've put a bigger premium on saving and investing than purchasing a home. So their liquid net worth is around $400,000. So the delta on that, he still needs $1.35 million. And so the question is, can he get there in 10 years? Or if not, how long is it going to take him to get there? So I'll share a couple of versions of his numbers next. But let's talk about how to estimate your retirement expenses. Now, I understand that this is difficult to know from where you're sitting right now, but here are some questions that you can sort of ask yourself. When you're looking at your current monthly expenses, and by the way, if you don't know what those are, I've got a free budgeting course that you can take in the description below. A lot of even my private clients wind up going through that to reorganize their finances, get on a budget so that they know their numbers more cold. So looking at your current expenses, will you be downsizing in retirement? Will you be upsizing? Will you be just sort of maintaining the level that you're at now? Those are kind of some things that you want to be thinking about. And then also, do you have a pension that you're going to be able to draw from, or Social Security, or some other kinds of benefits, maybe annuities or things like that? you're going to want to calculate that in this number as well. Okay, now that we've gotten the basics, let's jump into a few possible scenarios to get the juices flowing so you can start to see like, okay, this is how I would do this myself. So I actually cover these types of topics more depth in my micro newsletter. It's just one paragraph a couple times a week, all fluff, no fluff, all actionable stuff. Just type micro in the comments if you want access to that. And if you are still scratching your head, if you're in the middle of trying to work out, your FIRE number, what your FIRE scenario, your financial independence scenario looks like, and you're trying to figure out where you are along the continuum, what you should do next, you want a second set of eyes. I also do 30-minute calls. There's a link in the video description below for that. And my calls are very reasonable. So here I want to look at 3 scenarios, kind of looking at 0.21 Bitcoin, the 400K sort of liquid net worth, and some other scenarios as well. Now, before you guys go all caps on me in the comments, please understand these scenarios are going to be examples and are not meant to trigger anybody, okay? This exercise is meant for you to be able to take these numbers and plug them into your own scenario. So my aim is to give you the maths that you need to be able to run these scenarios for yourself. So let's first talk about why 0.21 Bitcoin, or the 0.21 Bitcoin. So why 0.21 Bitcoin? Will it be enough by 2036? And this is what it looks like if you get to a 0.21 Bitcoin at a 25% compound annual growth rate. Now, this is the math that changes everything. I've talked about 0.21 Bitcoin and the importance of that in a lot of other videos, so I'm not going to belabor that here. You can do a screenshot of this or look at some of my other videos, but 0.21 Bitcoin is a significant milestone. So the next question is, will 0.21 be enough by 2036? So what we do is we basically plug this into a spreadsheet and we look at, okay, 0.21 right now, or at least when I did the screen capture, Bitcoin was at 79, so that's about 16K. So if you don't stack any more Bitcoin over the next 10 years and you end up at 2036 at 0.21 Bitcoin, the value of that in fiat at a 25% compound annual growth rate is going to be about 154,000, 155,000, give or take, okay? So that's what it looks like at that's a conservative compound annual growth rate. It could be much higher than that, and so these numbers could be skewed. So there's a lot of, sort of wiggle room in some of these numbers. So is 0.21 enough to retire by 2036? Short answer, no. I mean, not for Scott Sample here, because he needs 1.75 million, and so he's only 10% of the way to his number. The long answer is no, right? So, but that shouldn't discourage you from getting to 0.21 and beyond yourself. And I'll talk a little bit more about that, sort of mindset stuff a little bit later. So scenario 2 is if, let's say, Scott's $400,000 net worth was already in Bitcoin. So he's already, instead of buying a house or, whatever everybody does with their money, he's like, you know what, this is important. He's been stacking maybe for a few years now, and he's stacked all of his liquid net worth in Bitcoin. So here's what that would look like. So that, about $400,000 is about, today's prices is about 5.19. Okay. Now, obviously, I know some of you guys are going to be like, oh, this is so unrealistic. This is just example number 2. Okay. But you can see like, wow, with that stack of Bitcoin, just holding on and not even adding to that stack over the next 10 years, he's actually going to be overshooting his needful number for retirement by $2 million. So he could actually retire probably somewhere between 2032 and 2033, right? Using that scenario. So scenario number 3 is probably a little bit more realistic, where he's actually acquiring Bitcoin over the next 10 years. And so here's what that would look like. So we're starting with 0.21 Bitcoin. We're saying like, okay, cool. He's already got about $16,000 worth of Bitcoin. And what his goal is to stack an additional 0.21 Bitcoin over the next 10 years. So in that scenario, and obviously I understand, with the Bitcoin price going up, at a 25% CAGR, compound annual growth rate, Bitcoin's price, so it's going to be more expensive every year to acquire that Bitcoin. But for the sake of round numbers and just sort of looking at this, if he were to stack 0.21 Bitcoin every year for the next 10 years, he would actually overshoot his goal by about $150,000. So, and again, that's at a conservative 25% compound annual growth rate. But the problem with any of these scenarios is that they're making some big assumptions, okay, which is what we're going to talk about next. But I wanted to address the idea of self-custody, which I know is a big, scary word for a lot of people. Where we are on the adoption curve, especially if you've just gotten into Bitcoin in the last couple of years, you're in this early majority phase. And so typically the innovators and early adopters, the first 15 years of Bitcoin, not afraid to get outside of their comfort zone, learn a piece of hardware, learn a piece of software. But the early majority, a lot of the clients that I'm talking to are not, they're kind of freaked out about self-custody. But it's my strong, passionate belief as a Bitcoiner since 2013 that you should hold at least a small percentage of your Bitcoin in self-custody, because not your keys, not your coin. And that's why I'm partnering with our sponsor of today's video, which is Bitbox and their O2 Nova hardware wallet. So Bitbox, I love Bitbox because it makes self-custody super easy with a Swiss vault level of security for your private keys, and a hardware wallet that is very easily accessible. If you use Windows, Mac OS, Linux, Android, it works literally with everything. This is one of my favorite Bitcoin wallets in my past 13 years in the space. So head over to bitbox.swish/Brad. The link is in the video description below. And if you use the code BRAD, you get a 5% discount off of your order. So take self-custody seriously. So far, I have fulfilled this video's promise. So after watching this, now you're going to be able to, calculate your own personal retirement number. Hopefully, know your monthly income and your expenses much more granularly, especially if you go through my free budgeting course. Know your future expenses, or some approximation of your future expenses in retirement, and how much Bitcoin you're going to need to kind of make that all work. So now, next, let's talk about the big misunderstanding, which was I was alluding to a minute ago. When it comes to Bitcoin, and I see this even in my private clients, most people think like traders, speculators, or gamblers when even though a lot of people would actually deny this, most have too short of a timeline when it comes to buying assets in general. This is the kind of mentality that goes all in on one asset all at once and can't sleep at night because he doesn't have enough liquidity to buy groceries and pay for rent. When you're investing, you need to have at least a 10-year timeline, especially when it comes to retirement planning. When you're And so my personal example that I've been wanting to use on the channel for a while, I wanted to share my personal investing journey with silver. Okay, so back in 2009, after I'd paid off $174,000 worth of debt and I started to, build my asset pile, I started, had a year's worth of savings, and I started to invest for retirement. So in 2009, I started buying silver, and back in those days, between, like 2009 and 2013, silver was about $13 an ounce. Then briefly, I think around 2011 or so, it shot up to about $50 an ounce. I think, it was around 2012. And then after that, it plummeted back down to the $13 to $20 range for about 10 years, okay? So if I had not been, not had the long term in mind as a silver investor, I would have sold, probably at the bottom and lost a bunch of money. But I was like, you know what? No, this is like, I had a much, much longer time frame. So its price only broke above the all-time high of $50 an ounce last year in 2025 and is now hovering somewhere, loosely in the $75 to $100 range. And so that's how it will be with an asset like Bitcoin. Like right now we're in sort of a bear market, so it's really difficult for people to, to kind of hold on, especially if you've bought in the last couple of years. You might have bought at the all-time high of 126,000 and you're sitting on a loss. Some of my silver I actually bought at 50, and so I was sitting on a loss for years, but I believed in that asset, so much, and that has paid huge dividends over the years. You have to adopt the mindset of a long-term investor and throw off this sort of like trader, speculator, gambler brain, right? But even more than that, here's the biggest mistake I'm seeing even my $1 million to $10 million net worth clients making right now: not keeping adequate levels of liquidity. So when bear markets like the one we're in right now show up, they're actually blindsided by them, and they wind up having to sell off some of their assets because they don't have enough liquidity. That's exactly what I cover in my 4 levels of liquidity video. Link is in the card above or in the description below, and I will see you there.